The cafe was unusually quiet for a Thursday afternoon, the kind of quiet that made every clink of a spoon against a cup echo like a gunshot. Ellie sat in her usual corner, laptop open but untouched, her fingers drumming an impatient rhythm against the table. She wasn't here for the coffee. Though the barista had expertly crafted her oat milk latte, she was here for him.
Jake.
He always came in around this time, always ordered the same thing, black coffee, no sugar, no fuss, and always sat at the counter, his broad shoulders hunched over his phone. Today was no different, except for the way her stomach twisted when he walked in, his dark eyes scanning the room before landing on her. She looked away quickly, pretending to be engrossed in something on her screen, but she could feel his gaze linger. When he finally sat down, she let out a breath she hadn't realized she'd been holding. Her heart was racing, and she couldn't help stealing glances at him over the rim of her mug. He was wearing that leather jacket again, the one that hugged his frame just right, and his hair was messy in a way that made it look like he'd just rolled out of bed. God, he was infuriatingly attractive. Ellie wasn't sure what it was about him that had her so wound up. Maybe it was the way he carried himself, like he owned every room he walked into. Maybe it was the faint smirk he always seemed to have, as if he knew something she didn't. Or maybe it was the way he looked at her sometimes, like he could see right through her carefully constructed facade. She was pulled out of her thoughts when he suddenly stood up, his coffee cup in hand, and started walking toward her. Her breath hitched, and she quickly straightened up, trying to look casual. "Mind if I join you?" he asked, his voice low and smooth, like honey dripping off a spoon. She blinked up at him, momentarily speechless.
Sure.
Yeah, go ahead. He slid into the seat across from her, setting his cup down with a quiet thud. Up close, he was even more intimidating, his jawline sharp enough to cut glass, his stubble just the right amount of scruffy. His eyes, though, were what really got to her. They were dark, almost black, and they seemed to bore into her soul. "You come here often?" he asked, leaning back in his chair, his tone teasing. Ellie laughed nervously, tucking a strand of hair behind her ear. "Yeah, I work from home most days, so this is kind of my escape." He nodded slowly, his gaze never leaving hers. Her cheeks flushed at that, and she took a sip of her latte mostly to give herself something to do. "What about you? You're here all the time." "Yeah," he said, shrugging. "It's close to work, and the coffee's decent. Plus," he trailed off, giving her a small smirk, "there's a nice view." Her pulse quickened, and she glanced around the cafe, pretending not to understand what he meant. "It's a pretty cute spot." "Yeah," he agreed, his voice dropping lower. "Very cute." There was a beat of silence, heavy with unspoken words, before Ellie cleared her throat. "So, what do you do? For work, I mean?" He leaned forward slightly, resting his elbows on the table. "I'm in construction. Project management, mostly." "Oh," she said, nodding. "That sounds intense." "It can be," he admitted, "but it's rewarding." "What about you?" "I'm a graphic designer," she replied, feeling oddly self-conscious under his scrutiny. "Freelance." "So, yeah, lots of coffee shops and deadlines." He chuckled, and the sound sent a shiver down her spine. "Sounds like we're both in the caffeine business." She smiled, relaxing a little. "Guess so." They fell into an easy conversation after that, talking about everything and nothing, the weather, their favorite coffee shops in the city, the latest Netflix series everyone was obsessed with. But despite the casual tone, there was an undercurrent of something else, something electric that made Ellie's skin feel like it was on fire. Every time their eyes met, she felt it, that pull, that undeniable attraction that she couldn't quite explain. And every time he smiled, that slow, knowing smile of his, her stomach did a little flip. Eventually, he glanced at his watch and frowned. "I should probably get going. Got a meeting in an hour." "Right," Ellie said, trying to hide her disappointment. "Well, it was nice talking to you." "Yeah," he said, standing up and grabbing his jacket. "You too." He hesitated for a moment, as if he wanted to say something else, before finally adding, "Maybe I'll see you around." "Maybe," she replied, her voice soft. He gave her one last lingering look before heading toward the door, leaving her sitting there with a racing heart and a head full of questions. She watched him leave, her mind replaying every word, every glance, every smile. And as soon as he was gone, she found herself counting down the hours until tomorrow, when she knew she'd see him again.